In solo leveling at the Korean Hunter Association, a man thinks that the monster of a gate will open in a few days. And as a B ranker, he can't be letting his guard down. Suddenly, he bumps into a massive person. He looks up, questioning who that person is. At that moment, it's revealed to be the beast monarch towering over the hunter. The spectating hunters watch in tense silence, wondering if a fight is about to erupt. Whispering among themselves, noting how massive the monarch appears, even bigger than Ma Dong-uk. With one speculates he's probably a hunter, reasoning that only hunters remain in Seoul now. The B-rank hunter, however, insists the monarch apologize if he bumped into someone, and questions if the man is just going to stand there and stare, and insists that if he did something wrong, he needs to apologize. But before the hunter can finish his words, the beast monarch lunges at him with his fangs. He chomps the B-ranker as the other hunters watch in disbelief. After mauling the B-ranker, the monarch spits out the blood and grins ominously, his teeth stained with blood. He then smashes the ground, creating a powerful shockwave that sends hunters flying. One hunter crashes into a building, but before he can recover, his eyes widen as the monarch Holly hoop him a fucking Toyota, splattering him. As the dust settles, the monarch demands they listen up, declaring that, as of now, he will start hunting them. With his teeth and claws, he will rip apart their weak skin and flesh. As Rakan emits a sinister aura, he proclaims himself the king of beasts, the beast monarch, daring any challenger to stop him if they can. Meanwhile, in the forest, Mami Cha dips her hand into the river and quenches her thirst, drinking gracefully. Suddenly, Jin-Woo emerges, informing her that he knows a hotel around the area that serves really good breakfast, and asks if she wants to go there to wash up and have a meal, which she gladly agrees to. Jin-Woo then summons Kaisel and urges Mami Cha to go. She clarifies, pointing out that Jin-Woo said it's just around the area. But Jin-Woo affirms that if he runs with his full power, it'll only take about 5 minutes. This makes Mami Cha wonder just how many kilometers the Rizzler can run in 5 minutes. Either way, she still goes and they soar into the sky with Mami Cha ready to take that monarch-level backshots. Jinchul is struck with urgency upon learning that an intruder has breached the Hunter Association. He then asks if there are any casualties, but an agent reports that they are unable to confirm the exact number at the moment. Seizing his head in frustration, Jinchul notes that there should still be at least a couple of hours left until the dungeon breaks, and acknowledges the situation, thinking to himself that he's already overwhelmed dealing with the gate. And now on top of that, a monster has decided to show up. Jinchul asks about Hunter Sung Jinwoo, but the agent informs him that they can't get a hold of him, making Jinchul think that if it comes to the worst, he might have to step up himself. Suddenly, another agent rushes in with urgent news, informing him that a hunter capable of facing the monster has appeared. Jinchul, startled, immediately asks if it's Hunter Sung Jinwoo. The agent says he didn't, but he claimed to be a world-class hunter who just happened to be around the area. Leonard Neerman stood firm before the towering beast monarch, doubt flickering in his eyes, contemplating that perhaps the reason he stayed in Seoul was because he was fated to defeat that monster. Suddenly, a voice echoed, telling him to back off. Thomas Andre arrives, grabbing him by the head and shoving him back, remarking that Leonard will only get in his way. Meanwhile, back at the hotel, the couple enjoys a bussin' breakfast. Jin-Woo answers his phone as Chairman Woo's urgent voice comes through, asking why they couldn't reach him earlier. Calmly, Jin-Woo replies that he had just returned from being outside the service zone. Jinchul then urgently informs Jin-Woo that there's a monster running rampant in the middle of Seoul, causing Jin-Woo to question and clarify that they still have a few days until the dungeon break. But the chairman assures him it's true. Calmly, Jin-Woo asks what's the approximate number of the enemy. But Jinchul responds that it's not even an approximate number, noting that there's only one, knowing that every hunter is gathered in Seoul right now. Jin-Woo thinks that they should be on their edge in order to stop the dungeon break of the gigantic-sized gate. But they're getting destroyed by a single magical beast that appeared out of nowhere. The chairman informs Jin-Woo that an entire guild who came across the monster was annihilated in an instant. He notes that he doesn't think this is just Jin-Woo's normal beast, and adds that he's also received a report that Thomas Andre is currently standing off against that beast. Jin-Woo remembers that he had placed his shadow soldiers on Thomas and the other hunters, instructing them to report back to him if even something slightly out of the ordinary happened. And yet, there's a monster strong enough to annihilate an entire guild in an instant, and he still hasn't received any report. At that moment, Jin-Woo realizes that his signal with the shadow soldiers in Seoul is strangely faint, noting that it's almost as if something is purposely making the signal weaker, and questions what's going on. Unable to find the specified shadow soldier, Jin-Woo remarks that even the soldiers he was using as coordinates are gone. He then turns to Mommy Cha and informs her that he thinks there's a problem in Korea right now. She asks if the dungeon break has already happened, but Jin-Woo tells her that he thinks it's something else. Analyzing the overwhelming power of the enemy, the presence of a world-class hunter standing off against them, and the hindered signal, this alarms Jin-Woo as he urgently asks the chairman if the monster has a shadow. He insists that he must confirm whether or not the monster has a shadow, highlighting the possibility that they must have hidden away a colossal monster beyond the invisible shadows. Back in Seoul, Leonard nervously calls out to Thomas Andre as the spectating hunters grow excited upon seeing the Goliath. However, Thomas shouts at them, ordering those fools not to just stand there and to start rescuing the citizens. With a serious expression, he remarks that he sees a beast going rampant without knowing its place. And as the beast monarch maliciously grins at Thomas Andre, he adds that it's only right for mad beasts to be beaten to death. And the two stood mightily, their overwhelming auras clashing in the air as the atmosphere grew dense with pressure. Their overwhelming auras clashed while they exchanged glances with each other. Suddenly, the beast monarch lunged forward, slashing Thomas Andre with his claws. However, to his surprise, his claws failed to penetrate Thomas's skin. The Goliath then retaliated with an uppercut, but at the same time, the monarch followed up with a knee to the gut. Unfazed, Thomas looked over and reached for the monarch's face, forcefully slamming him into the ground. Meanwhile, in a nearby area, Choi Jong-in exited his car, inquiring about the current state of the evacuation. One of his members responded that they were still evacuating people from inside the building. Choi then worriedly asked which guilds were on site for subjugation. The hunter calmly replied that both the Fiend Guild and the White Tiger Guild had been dispatched. Since hunters from all over had been gathered at the site for the colossal gate, he expected the beast would be subjugated sooner rather than later. He informed Choi that the Hunters Guild only needed to focus on the evacuation, but Choi remained only half convinced. He noted that Thomas Andre, a national-level hunter, was currently facing off against the mysterious magical beast. But this massive presence continued to bother Choi, as he remarked that it felt even worse than what he had sensed during the Jeju Island raid. Looking toward the place where the battle was erupting, he wondered just what kind of monster the Goliath was fighting against. The beast monarch was sent hurtling through the sky at incredible speed, crashing into a building from the sheer force of Thomas's heavy punches. As the dust settled, Rakan ascended through the building and burst out, rocketing toward Thomas Andre. He slammed his head into Thomas's stomach, forcing him to stomp the ground to brace himself and absorb the impact. Andre quickly retaliated, grabbing hold of the monarch's body and slamming him down with a powerful Bautista bomb, driving him headfirst with brutal force. As he looked down at the monarch's position, the beast countered with a strike to Thomas Andre's face. Twisting mid-air, Rakan flipped and landed back on his feet, sending the hunter flying. The monarch grinned with excitement as Thomas Andre got back to his feet, activating his skill reinforcement. At that moment, Baek Yoon-ho, along with the Hunters Guild, arrived at the subjugation site. Just as Baek checked if everyone was ready, something crashed through a building in front of them, leaving the group stunned by the sudden impact. Baek looked at the bloodthirsty monarch ahead, questioning whether that terrifying presence was the magic beast reported to have appeared at the site. Looking at the reinforced figure standing against the monarch, Baek realized that must be the rumored Goliath, Thomas Andre. Seeing the national-level hunter, the other hunters cheered in awe, but Thomas Andre, calling them dumbasses, immediately ordered them to take cover. The monarch eerily grinned as he stepped closer, alarming Baek as he prepared to transform, noting that this wasn't a normal monster and that he should transform as well. But the moment the monarch stood in front of Baek, he was overwhelmed by immense pressure. As the monarch glared at him, he avoided eye contact, gripped by a feeling as if Fenrir had been put up against a common snow tiger. With the sixth sense of an animal, Baek Yoon-ho knew the struggle of trying not to be recognized as prey. Sweat dripped down his face as he noted that he couldn't even make eye contact, but the beast monarch ignored him, walking straight toward Thomas Andre. Raises his hand, activating his telekinesis, instantly lifting multiple vehicles into the air before launching them at full speed toward Thomas Andre. Thomas Andre manages to deflect several of the incoming vehicles, but quickly becomes overwhelmed, catching one mid-air only to be struck by multiple others crashing into him from all sides. Suddenly, the monarch is shocked as he begins to feel himself being pulled by Thomas Andre. With his hand raised, uses his own telekinesis to drag the monarch toward him. As the monarch is being pulled in, Thomas Andre bursts out from the pile of wrecked cars, weighing him down, and smashes the monarch straight into the ground. Extending his arm backward, Thomas launches an attack, forcefully raining down a flurry of punches onto the beast monarch. But even as he keeps pummeling the monarch without giving him a chance to recover, he senses something is wrong. A creeping sense of unease begins to settle within Thomas Andre, making him feel like he's not going to win. As Thomas Andre prepares to deliver a heavy blow, the monarch halts his attack, seizing his arm while transforming into his beast form, ridiculing the idea that a mere puppet of a fragment could be this powerful. Grinning as he fully transforms, he declares he's seen enough of Thomas Andre's petty tricks. In an instant, he crushes Thomas's fist, leaving him stunned. Towering over him, the beast monarch eerily smirks, as if questioning whether Thomas is afraid. He claws at him repeatedly, taunting with each strike, asking if he feels fear and if he's drowning in despair. Meanwhile, unable to do anything, Baek Yoon-ho, along with the other hunters, watches in horror as Thomas Andre is getting his ass kicked. Suddenly, the monarch notices something stirring beneath Thomas's shadow and quickly reaches for it, calling it a little rat. Yeeting it out, the monarch glares at the figure and questions what a soldier of the abyss is doing hiding in the shadows. Saying it's in the way, the monarch crushes the shadow soldier with full force, ordering it to be gone. Looking back at Thomas, the monarch taunts him, proposing a contest of strength as he prepares to continue the fight. But then, Thomas's armor suddenly bursts apart, catching the monarch off guard, as Thomas emerges from behind, locking him in a tight back hold, questioning who he thinks he is, blabbering so arrogantly. Locking his arms with all his might and screaming, Thomas Andre forcefully snaps the monarch's neck. Leaving the head dangling lifelessly, the monarch's eyes suddenly shift toward Thomas. In an instant, its neck twists back into place, shocking the Goliath. Quickly grasping Thomas's head, Rakan vigorously hurls him around and slams him to the ground, like Hulk did with Loki. As the monarch grips Thomas Andre's head, he ravenously apologizes, saying he's starting to feel hungry again. Out of thin air, a burst of magic strikes the monarch, exploding on impact and sending him flying backward. The monarch turns, eyes narrowing as he spots the source of the attack, Leonard Neerman. Standing beside the barely conscious Thomas Andre, Leonard firmly declares that he won't let the monarch do as he pleases. Sensing the monarch's immense power, Leonard notes that he's getting the chills just by standing in front of it. Thomas Andre then pleads with Leonard, advising him to run away or he'll die. But Leonard argues that he's well aware, yet he's still a hunter, after all. Charging his power-ups, Leonard thinks to himself that he has no regrets. And even if this will be his final moment in life, he would still make this choice many times over, choosing a proud death rather than a meaningless life. As the monarch slowly steps in his direction, Leonard tries to build courage, repeating to himself that he made the right choice. But as he gets a closer look at the monarch, he freezes in fear, unable to move, as the monarch lunges at him, jaws wide, ready to tear him apart. Suddenly, Kaisel bursts in from behind, chomping down on the monarch mid-air, shocking Leonard as the two collide and spiral through the sky. However, with a roar of fury, Rakan clutches Kaisel's jaws and, in a brutal display of power, rips them apart, completely destroying the mighty wyvern. At that moment, Rakan turns his gaze toward the Shadow's remnants, only for the Shadow Monarch himself to emerge from them, delivering a brutal axe kick from the restaurant he came from. The blow lands with crushing force, sending the beast monarch hurtling into the ground below.